This was a patient who presented with pain, right hypochondrium, fever, and when we did the ultrasound, we saw that the ultrasound showed a relatively avascular wall of the gallbladder with internal echoes suggestive of sloughed-off membranes, and there was also a focal lesion in the liver, which was hyperechoic and difficult to characterize. On CT, on the other hand, there was this irregular thickening of the gallbladder wall with this hypodense liver lesion as well. When we did the diffusion-weighted MR, this is the B500 image, which shows you that this lesion in the liver is showing restriction, and in this setting of a febrile patient with pain and gallbladder pathology is likely to be a pericholecystic abscess. Let's move on to looking at the pancreas, where we find diffusion-weighted imaging to be very useful in characterization of pancreatic masses, in picking up small lesions, which may be difficult to appreciate on routine imaging. This is a CT of a patient showing you a hypodense mass in the head of pancreas extending into the uncinate process behind the SMA and the SMV. And this is the post-GAD T1 weighted MR image showing you this hypointense mass in the head. MRCP shows that the duct is not penetrating this mass in the head. The pancreatic duct is dilated, suggesting that we could be dealing with a malignancy in the head of pancreas. And when you look at this between the B0 and B500 image, basically you're getting an additional way to characterize this pathology. The lesion is bright on B0, it's also bright or retains its signal on B500, shows you marked restriction on the ADC map, and look at the B1000 image, which really makes it very easy to detect this lesion because of the marked low signal within this on the inverted image. Chronic pancreatitis sometimes mimics malignancy, and here again we look for restriction of diffusion and try and say if there's a malignancy associated with it or it's only chronic pancreatitis. This is a patient who has a mass in the head with evidence of calcific foci. On CT, if you see the MRCP, the duct is penetrating this lesion, and that's also something very important to see on your MR images. If the duct penetrates the mass, it is more likely to be a benign lesion like chronic pancreatitis rather than a malignancy, which more often produces a duct cutoff. And this lesion shows you no restriction on the B1000 image, except for a small area of restriction here, which is possibly because of the calcific foci that were seen. Picking up small tumors becomes easy when you look at your diffusion-weighted imaging. Again, MRCP showing a duct cutoff, dilated MPD, which does not penetrate the head. Very small lesion here seen in the region of the head. And when you look at your ADC map, you see this markedly hypointense lesion, suggesting that this is a cellular tumor and likely to be a malignancy. This was a CT that we saw in our hospital. There was this mass in the region of the body of pancreas, and it was causing upstream but subtle dilatation of the main pancreatic duct. And there was this issue, are we dealing with a malignancy? Is this a cystic lesion? And MR showed that this was very bright on T2, and on the ADC maps, there was no restriction at all, suggesting that this was a cyst and not a malignancy, and that's very useful information to provide to the surgeon. Occasionally, of course, you will go wrong. This was a patient where there was a mass heterogeneous mass on CT in the head of pancreas, and we were wondering, is this malignancy or is this just focal pancreatitis? And when we did MR, we found marked restriction in this lesion on our ADC map. We did a PET-CT, and PET-CT showed evidence of increased uptake in this lesion. And this was sampled under EUS guidance and was found to be tuberculosis. Tuberculosis, of course, is a confounding entity in virtually every imaging that you have available to us in our country. And this patient was put on ATT, and the mass completely responded. This is, of course, a situation where we went wrong. We thought this was malignancy in the head, but it was actually a very rare entity of primary pancreatic tuberculosis. Lymphomas, we know, are very cellular lesions and will produce marked restriction on ADC maps. This is a post-GAD T1 weighted image, which shows you pancreatic mass along with peripancreatic lymph nodes, marked restriction seen on the ADC, and this is suggestive of a very cellular tumor. This is a coronal whole body image, what is referred to commonly as DWIBS, which showed that there were multiple lymph nodes in the abdomen. There were also axillary lymph nodes, and this is the comparative PET-CT image showing you the same findings. The last thing that I'm going to cover is the kidneys. This is again another organ where we find characterization of lesions is almost till now entirely dependent on the contrast kinetics. If a lesion picks up contrast, we are thinking it's a malignant lesion, whereas if it's not, we think of cystic or complicated cystic lesions. We've also found it very useful in studying end-stage renal disease. We know that in patients with CRF, you sometimes get a lobular hypertrophy of the normal renal parenchyma, and that tends to mimic renal masses, and we find that DWI is useful to characterize these so-called pseudo-lesions of end-stage renal disease. There are many articles in the literature which are now talking about trying to characterize the histological subtype of kidney tumor based on the ADC characteristics. In our experience also, the papillary variant of renal cell carcinomas have lower ADC values. The value of doing this is that you can help your clinician to prognosticate, because we know that papillary malignancies have a better prognosis than the clear cell variants of renal cell carcinoma. The resurgence of interest in DWI in kidneys is also because of this huge concern about contrast-induced nephropathy as well as nephrogenic systemic fibrosis with the use of contrast. And if we have a non-contrast way of characterizing kidney lesions, that would indeed be very useful. The other indications in kidneys which people have studied very widely are distinguishing hydronephrosis from pyonephrosis. Pyonephrosis having purulent fluid will show you restriction, hydronephrosis will not, and of course, as we said in the liver, distinguishing abscesses from other cystic lesions in the kidneys. Normal kidneys, typically the ADC values which we tend to get are between 2.2 to 2.4 into 10 to the power minus 3. It's important to remember that these may not always correspond with what you are reading in the literature. ADC values will typically are dependent on the kind of scanner you're using, on the type of sequence you're using. So you have to sort of standardize this to your own scanner and then use it. We'll just see a few examples in the kidneys. This was an 18-year-old male patient who presented with fever and left flank pain, and CT showed evidence of this bland-looking, low attenuating lesion in the anterior cortex of the left kidney, difficult to characterize on CT. We did an MR in this patient, and with gadolinium we could appreciate that the periphery of this lesion is showing enhancement. This could be a complicated cyst, this could be an abscess, and when you do a DWI, notice that between B0 and B500, the center of this lesion shows you marked restriction, and in the appropriate clinical setting, this would be suggestive of a renal abscess. Notice that on the ADC map, the center is markedly dark, suggesting reduced diffusion. The final diagnosis on aspiration was a liver abscess. This was a patient who presented with a large left renal mass. There were multiple lymph nodes. And this was obviously fairly easy to characterize on MR, on the routine MR also, but I just want to show you how well the diffusion-weighted images help you to characterize this lesion. This patient had these bright lymph nodes in the retrocrural area on the B500 image, which showed restriction on the ADC map. And again, notice that the mass itself shows restricted diffusion, as do the lymph nodes. And that is very useful when you're trying to stage tumors, that the nodal signal characteristic is very similar to the tumor itself. This was a patient who had a lump in the right flank. The sagittal ultrasound image showed suggestion of a thrombus in the inferior vena cava. These are the T1 weighted images, which show a large right renal mass. This is the coronal haste image, which shows you a large tumor thrombus in the inferior vena cava. And the reason I show this is to highlight the fact that tumor thrombi will have the same characteristic as the tumor. So it will help you to distinguish between a tumor thrombus and a bland thrombus. I know that there are many other features on routine MR also which help you to do that, but there are times when those features will fail you. It will be equivocal, and then DWI is an additional characteristic which helps you to say whether the thrombus in the IVC is bland or it's a tumor thrombus, as is seen here. Notice that the tumor is bright, as also the thrombus in the IVC on a B500 image, suggesting that there is restriction of diffusion. This is a 60-year-old male patient with hematuria. Ultrasound shows you abnormal echoes within the renal pelvis, and you're really struggling, is this a mass? You do an MR, and you again see that on the T2 weighted images, the renal pelvis signal is altered. It's not showing you the fluid signal as you should see. And when you do your diffusion weighted image, this finding really stands out. On the B0 image, this is the lesion that you're seeing in the left renal pelvis. It retains, or in fact becomes brighter on your B500 image. And when you do your ADC map, notice that this is hypointense on ADC, and this really tells you that this is likely to be a tumor sitting in the collecting system, and this is more likely to be a transitional cell carcinoma, as it was proven to be on histology. This was a patient who had this mixed echogenicity mass on ultrasound. On MR T1 weighted image, we can see that this is a T1 bright lesion. It's a hemorrhagic lesion because on the fat suppressed sequence, this lesion does not get suppressed. This kind of lesion is difficult to characterize because contrast enhancement is very difficult to perceive in this lesion unless you do subtraction, which we did. And this was the subtracted image, which again didn't really show us any significant enhancement, and we were still struggling on calling it. And on our diffusion weighted image, we found that it does show restricted diffusion. and as also was confirmed on the ADC map, suggesting that this was likely to be a tumor, a renal cell carcinoma, and that's what it was proven to be. Having said that, hemorrhagic lesions create havoc even on diffusion-weighted image, because we know hemorrhage can have a very variable signal on DWI and may cause a lot of problems. Conclude by saying that DWI is a robust technique in the abdomen for additional characterization of pathology. It provides information at a cellular level, which none of the other sequences do. Helps you to sometimes subtype your histology. However, it needs a lot of effort on the part of the radiologist to tweak your parameters on the scanner so that you get images of decent quality. The first time you do DWI on abdomen and on your scanner, you'll probably get such lousy images that you'll be totally discouraged. But if you can sit with your application expert and tweak your parameters, you will reach a stage where you get very useful information out of these images. We always need to interpret them in conjunction with other sequences and be aware of the various pitfalls that are seen with this technique as well. So I'm going to stop with that, and I'm going to ask Rajiv to take it on from here, and he's going to talk of some other applications in the abdomen and in the pelvis, and also discuss with you confounding factors on DWI applications. Thank you for your attention.